In the days before January 6th, President Trump told his top Justice Department officials, quote, "Just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman."
It has become clear since January the 6th that the actions in Congress were at least adjacent to Donald Trump's coup plot. In the Senate, the Washington Post reports, quote, Senator Ted Cruz's efforts are of interest to the House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, in particular whether Cruz was in contact with Trump lawyer John Eastman, a conservative attorney who has been his friend for decades and who wrote key legal memos aimed at denying Biden's victory. Eastman wrote in the first of his two memos about overturning the election that his plan relied on a senator delaying certification, and he specifically mentioned the possibility that Cruz could do it. And this is what Ted Cruz was yelling about from the back of a pickup truck in Georgia just days before the insurrection.
We are proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with you as we defend the United States of America, as we defend our Constitution, as we defend our freedom, and we will not go quietly into the night. We will defend liberty into the future, and we are going to win.
Cruz voted to overturn the election after the violent insurrection, after. The question you have to ask yourself is this. If Democrats really want to stop this from happening again, how on earth is Ted Cruz still in the Senate? How has he not been expelled? How has he not faced any consequence? Al Franken represented Minnesota in the Senate for nearly a decade, where he served with Senator Ted Cruz on the Judiciary Committee. He now hosts the Al Franken podcast and founded the Midwest Values Political Action Committee. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. You've been watching the hearings, I know. How big, how serious, how existential was the threat, is the threat to American democracy based on what we've learned just in these first three hearings?
I don't think you can overstate it. I think Judge Luttig said that it still presents a clear and present danger, but there's no question. I've been very impressed with the hearings. They exceeded my expectations. Wonderfully presented. We've only had three. We've seen heard a lot of shocking stuff that didn't actually shock me. But there's no question that there's a widespread conspiracy to overturn a legitimate election. And I think that's as bad a thing as you can possibly do in our democracy.
One name we haven't heard mentioned in the hearing so far, but we know he's of interest to the committee, and we all saw what he did on January the 6th. Ted Cruz, you served with him in the Senate. What do you make of his role in all of this? Should we be hearing more about him?
Absolutely. I said after the 6th, very publicly, that there should be an ethics investigation of Cruz and of Hawley and those who were going to deny certification. Basically, what they were trying to do is, I guess, do what Eastman wanted the vice president to do, which is to throw this back to the states. That's what their intention was. And absolutely, we should be seeing who he is in contact with. You know, it's interesting because you brought up the question, was he in contact with Eastman? And I guess his office today said not to the best of his recollection. They didn't even have it from him saying that to the best of my recollection. It was his office saying to the best of his recollection. He doesn't. That's pretty suspicious. And Ted is, he lies a lot.
So I have to ask then. I have to ask this question. You are no longer in the Senate because people in your own party were upset about stuff you reportedly did before you were a senator. How is it possible that Republican senators like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley have faced no consequences at all for their role in trying to upend democracy in this country? They're still in the Senate 18 months later. Forget expelling them. You mentioned ethics investigation. I've not heard of any result of any ethics investigation 18 months later.
No, there hasn't been one as far as I know. They usually say when there's an ethics investigation. And obviously, I very publicly called for that. They should have due process, but there should be an ethics investigation. Also, the January 6th committee should call Cruz and Hawley. And if they have nothing to hide, they should be happy to testify.
Yeah, that's always been the Republican line, right? If you've got nothing to hide. Mike Pence has been portrayed this week, including by Chairman Benny Thompson, as a courageous hero for not rejecting the electoral vote, for not listening to Donald Trump. How do you square that with the idea that it should never have been a difficult decision for him in the first place? I mean, he was just doing his job at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. During the last hearing, they had former Vice President Gore, and he did it very quickly. He said, well, if you're choosing between your own ambition and the Constitution and democracy, it's not really a hard choice. It should not have been a hard choice for Vice President Trump. And not only that, he should have said something. He should have said something before January 6th publicly. Yeah. But certainly he should have testified during the impeachment trial. And so should all of those members of the administration who testified, because right now, as Judge Luttig said, Trump presents a clear and present danger, and his supporters, that impeachment was about not allowing him to run for office ever again. And so those people testified are not heroes. They were they had to testify. They were called to testify.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. He should have spoken out before January the 6th. He should have spoken out after January the 6th. He should have testified in the impeachment trial, as you rightly point out. He should be testifying in the 1-6 committee. He was a kind of elephant not in the room. Quick last question. We talked earlier on the show about Republican Congressman Barry Loudermilk apparently giving a tour to someone who then turned up at the insurrection. I'm just going to ask you, you're a former senator, how many personal tours did you give to constituents who you didn't know, who took pictures of security checkpoints and tunnels on those tours?
Did that all the time. No, I gave my family tours and some of my daughter's in-laws, but they didn't take pictures of tunnels.
No, most people who don't take pictures of tunnels. So we do need to hear more from Congressman Loudermilk. Senator Al Franken, former Senator Al Franken of Minnesota, thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you.